if we had time, it would probably take at least I don't know, 5, maybe even 10 hours to do this properly. Okay, so I'm just giving a tip of the iceberg and try to bring everyone into the world of Lashon HaKodesh. Okay, specifically today with Yom HaAtzmaut, one of the highlights, we'll call it, and something we'll hear, where we do hear a lot, is the establishment of one unified language, right? Hebrew. And what I want to do is I want to give first a little bit of a background of the history of how it happened that everyone started speaking the same language. That's one, how it came about. I think it's a lot of us have a lot of misconceptions to it. Then I'd like to speak about what modern Hebrew actually is. And then I want to go into speaking about what Lashon HaKodesh is. Okay? Not to be mistaken with modern Hebrew, and no one thinks that you should. But try to really give an overview of the 3 different sections. Again, each section we can speak history for hours, and we could speak about modern Hebrew for hours, and we could speak about Lashon HaKodesh for days. Okay, so there's a lot over here. So I want to try to skim through a little bit of it, try to give an understanding of what's going on. Okay, so first of all, who is known as the founder of modern Hebrew? Ben Yehuda. Okay, Ben Yehuda is not just a street that none of us have gone to. It's also a person. It's named after a person that is known as the founder of modern Hebrew. Okay, he lived from 1868 to 1922, which means you don't have to remember those dates. The point is that he lived before the state of Israel was established. It's not that a state was established and they said, okay, we got to figure out a language. Let's go. And Ben Yehuda got up and said, I'm going to push for Hebrew. That's not what happened. He died, he never saw 1948. He died 26 years earlier, right? So that was not part of the establishment of the state of Israel. It was part of a movement beforehand to try to go ahead and create a language. Now, he's also known as the resurrector of Hebrew, meaning like he brought it back to life. There's nothing more incorrect than that, because resurrection, Chiyas Hamesa, means that it was dead, right? Hebrew was not dead. Lashon HaKodesh was not dead. It's just, and this is very important, it wasn't the commonly spoken language in between Jews. When 2 Jews, for example, let's go back all the way back to the beginning, okay? In the times of the Beis HaMikdash, right, before the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, people were living in Eretz Yisrael, and people were speaking Lashon HaKodesh, right? We were kicked out. We went into Galus. We went to Persia, right? And we went into the whole world of Iran, Iraq, and there we were there for 70 years. So that means the people that left, I try to think of people that leave Russia. Right? They leave Russia, they move to New York, they're still speaking Russian. I lived in Washington Heights. The people everywhere were speaking Spanish. Right? That's what the people that leave a certain place, that's what they speak, right? So the people leaving Eretz Yisrael theoretically should have been just speaking Lashon HaKodesh, so that's what they know. Their children, though, maybe not, because their children are born into the Achashverosh Empire, right? They're born into a whole different world, and therefore they're exposed to other types of languages, other types of people, and things change. In fact, that is why the Rambam writes, that's why we have a siddur. The Rambam writes that the reason Anshe Knesset Gedola, who lived during that time, wrote down a siddur was because when we went into Galus, people started to speak other languages. This guy expressed himself in Ashdodis, whatever that means. Another person was expressing himself in something else. So no one had a unified language. They didn't have a way of articulating themselves in a proper way. So Anshe Knesset Gedola said, we need to put down these holy words. The best way to connect in our tefillah, how to hit the highest heavens and spheros, etc. We need to put that down because we don't know the words anymore. So they wrote down a siddur, and that's why we actually have a text. The Chassam Sofer adds one more component, and that is that even the parents that moved out of Eretz Yisrael, or got kicked out of Eretz Yisrael, stopped speaking Lashon HaKodesh. Why? Because there's a halacha that Lashon HaKodesh is kadosh. It's holy. It's very special language. We'll get to it, Mirz Hashem, towards the end, to even just get a taste of what that is and why that is. But Lashon HaKodesh is something beyond, and the halacha is you're not allowed to speak Lashon HaKodesh in front of Avodah Zarah. So therefore, when they were in the exile and they were around Avodah Zarah all over the place, the Purim story, and Nebuchadnezzar invited them to the Suda. There was a tzelem there, right? There was Avodah Zarah. they actually stopped speaking Lashon HaKodesh. So it was an intentional move to stop speaking the language from here in Yerushalayim, from here in Eretz Yisrael. So it stopped. And not everyone went back to Eretz Yisrael for the second Beis Hamikdash. People who went back also had other languages with them. And therefore, from then on, it became a downhill, spiral downhill of us speaking Lashon HaKodesh as a one unit in a unified way. Okay, so people are all over the place. People are in Spain and people are in Russia, wherever they are, and they meet up on business. Two Jews meet up on business. What language are they going to speak? This guy speaks Spanish. This guy speaks Russian. How are they going to speak? So they actually spoke Lashon HaKodesh. That the Jews knew that when they did business together, they would speak Lashon HaKodesh. So it was used, but it wasn't used in the home. It wasn't used in a common day-to-day working in their communities. It was something that was used if you were a Jew. Right? It was something that went on. Okay. Now, there was a movement. Okay, I'm sure I think we've heard about this as well. Well, actually, even before that movement in Sfat. Okay, we're talking about in the 1500s. So the Arizal only spoke Hebrew. The Ramak, Moshe Cordovero, he would speak Hebrew unless someone had a halachic topic that needed to be spoken about and they thought he'd get confused. He'd only speak Lashon HaKodesh. Being Lashon HaKodesh was still used by people along the way. Okay, but fast forward from 1758 to 1838. Okay, was a man who lived named Hillel Rivlin. Hillel Rivlin was a student of the Vilna Gaon. Okay, anyone who goes to the Churva Shul, again, I highly recommend everyone to go to the Churva Shul just to see at least what it was about. It was established by the Talmidim of the Vilna Gaon. That's why a lot of the Minhagim here, the Zilbermans, etc., are based on the Gra, right? They came in, they established the Yishuv. Why did they come, by the way? Okay, this is not a secret. They came because they felt that if they'd make like this mass aliyah and they'd bring everyone to Eretz Yisrael, that would actually speed up the Geula. Okay, there was a very clear intention of why the Vilna Gaon's Talmidim tried to come to Eretz Yisrael. Okay, so Rav Hillel Rivlin, he led many of these students on this aliyah. Okay, there was a group of people called the Prushim, and they wanted to bring the Geula, so they started settling here, and it was the first Jews living here that weren't Hasidic. It was a whole different vibe of people that were here. Okay, now his son, Rav Eliyahu Rivlin, was called, there's a great nickname, Halavai by all of us. Okay, Rav Eliyahu, that was his name, Eliyahu, Baal Lashon HaKodesh. That was what they called him. Rav Eliyahu Baal Lashon HaKodesh. Cool nickname, right? Okay, so he was about, why? Because he would only speak Hebrew. Now, that was very important because he was in Yerushalayim and he was like in charge of this community. This whole community of people moving here. Where do you find a house? How do you get a job? What's going to be with school, right? So we'll go speak to, like the mayor. We'll go speak to Rav Eliyahu Baal Lashon HaKodesh. Guess what? If you want to speak to the guy, you got to speak in Lashon HaKodesh. He's not going to speak to you otherwise. So he was trying to push, okay, again, this is in the early 1800s. He was trying to push already that the people in Yerushalayim should only speak Lashon HaKodesh, and he had some effect. People did start to speak this language. Okay, and it was interesting because you had Ashkenazim and you had Sephardim, and he was trying to push everyone to go ahead and do it. Now, he wasn't as successful as Ben Yehuda. Ben Yehuda got everyone to start doing it, okay? But the idea is that it wasn't that it didn't exist, it wasn't heard of, like it was this dead language from the times of the Beis Hamikdash. You have to try to bring it up. People were speaking it in their businesses. Yechidim were speaking it. This Rav Eliyahu Baal Lashon HaKodesh was already trying to be mechazek it into the Jewish community. So it was going ahead and it was moving. Okay. What Ben Yehuda brought to the table was in 1879 at the Viennese. There was a whole conference, and the Viennese Journal. It was his manifesto. He encouraged the revival of Lashon HaKodesh to help Jewish nationalism. Now that was his goal. Now it wasn't. Not everyone was on board with him. Okay, for example, there was someone named Theodor Herzl who also wrote a manifesto. And in his manifesto, in 1896, he said that the proposed language should be German. Now, this is before people, I guess, hated the Germans. Okay, this was 1896. But he suggested that would be the easiest way, whatever the reasons were. And that's what he wanted to do. Okay? But there were people against him. There were some groups against him that it should be Yiddish, and the others against him said it should be Hebrew. And the one, obviously, Ben Yehuda's, we'll call it the followers or those proponents of Hebrew, were the ones that at the end of the day, they went ahead and they were the ones that were successful. Okay, so Hebrew is going to be the one, but now we have to establish a dictionary. Now, why they couldn't just use Lashon HaKodesh is not for now. That's what we said. If we had more hours, we could go ahead and speak this out. But they didn't, and they didn't use all the rules of diktuk and grammar that exist in Lashon HaKodesh. So while we have some very, very similar words, many similar words in Lashon HaKodesh that we have in modern Hebrew, pass this around, but they made moves, and there were moves that were done. Some moves angered a lot of people, okay, and some moves are just confusing to this day. I have to be honest, I'm totally messed up because of two of these moves. I can't go into a store and buy anything that has any color because one of them. I'll explain. I'm trying to get over it, but for some reason I can't get it out of my head. Okay, so I want to go through some of these moves just to appreciate certain changes that were made. Now there are a gazillion of them. Okay? There's a whole. This is, like I said, we could have many hours of classes on this just to give a little bit of an introduction. Okay, so the first source that we have over here is the Rambam that I quoted, the Chassam Sofer that I quoted, and let's go now to source number 2. Source number 2 is a nuance. It's not so major and not so traumatic. The pasuk says, "V'nei kamtem tachas avosechem b'midbar lamed beis yudalid tarbas anashim chataim espos od al charon af Hashem el Yisrael." So it says that under your fathers will come up tarbut anashim chataim. What are tarbut anashim chataim? So anashim chataim we understand, sinful people. Tarbut, what does that mean? So our Unclus writes, Talmidei Gavya Chayava, students of sinful people. Tarbut is a student. In fact, in the Mishnah Baba Kama, whoever learns Mishnayos, in the first parak, the Mishnah talks about these animals that are b'nei tarbut. What does it mean that these animals are b'nei tarbut? It means that they are trainable, educatable types of people. Okay, tarbut is something to learn, to educate, to train. Okay, in modern Hebrew, tarbut means to be polite or to be cultured. So cultured I could see how that fits into education. But it means to go, it's a certain like politeness, it's a certain culture. So it's switched from a student or one to be educated to a culture. Okay, again, that's not major. I don't know why they had to switch that, but it was switched. But now let's move into the confusing ones. The pasuk says in Bereshis Chaf Aleph, pasuk Chaf Gimel, "Va'ati shaval li belokim minei im tishkor li ulenini ulenechdi." Swear to me and to my nini and my nechdi. So now, what's a neched in Hebrew? A grandson. My nin and my neched. What's my nin? So just from the order, I would have said it means my son, which is what the Unclus says. And Rashi, it's in the bold over there, ubibivri, in my son, ubibarbibri, and the son of my son. Or Rashi says, ulinini ulinechdi, my son and my grandson, ad kan rachamei ha'av alaben. A father thinks in his rachamim to his son and to his grandson. Now, don't go ahead. Mirza Shem, you'll all get married soon, and then you'll have a child, and you'll come back to yeshiva, and you'll say, Rabbi Rosman, I have a nin. I'm going to look at you like you're out of your mind because you're 26 years old, whatever, and you tell me you have a nin. A nin in modern Hebrew is a great grandson, not a son. So we don't want you to have a great grandson at the age of 26. Okay? So now, why did that switch? I don't know. But in Hebrew, in Lashon HaKodesh, that's the right correct translation. In Lashon HaKodesh, a nin is a son. In modern Hebrew, a nin is a great grandson. Okay, this one is the one that I can't get out of my head. I'm working really hard at it. If you have like a trick for me, I'll appreciate it. Okay, the pasuk says, "Vayikra Yud Gimel Vav." The Ra Kohen Oso Bayom Hashvi. We're talking about the tsaras on a person. So the Kohen goes and he checks the person on the seventh day. Vihine keha hanega. The nega that was there has been keha, velo fasa, and it didn't spread. But or v'tira, okay, so the Kohen says you're tower. What does it mean keha? So Rashi says keha means huka memarito. It became lessened. Hayim amad barito. If it stayed the same, o pasa, or it spread. Tame. So this, if the nega gets less, it gets smaller. So then we go ahead and we say the person is tahor. You look at the Mishabura, the fascinating drasha. Why do we wear a tefillin on our left hand? Those of us who are righties, right? So the Mishabura says small. This is in Simon Chav Zayin. Midiksiv yadecha. When it says you should wear your tefillin on yadecha, it's spelled not with a chaf sofit, it's yud dalit chaf hey. Vayalaot al yadcha, sorry. Yadcha utotafot beineinecha. So the fact that it has that end, chaf and hey, perush, yad keha, your weaker hand, the hainu asmol, that means your left hand, shehu tashak v'kayetz. It's a weaker. So the word keha means weaker. So for example, if I would want to go into a store and I want to buy a couch, so they ask you, what color do you want? I want chom. Chom means brown. So do you want keha? Do you want a dark brown or a light brown? So from here, I know keha means light. So I want a light brown. So I say keha. So I'm going to get something that's going to look black. Why? Because in modern Hebrew, keha means dark. The exact opposite of what it means in Lashon HaKodesh. So again, in Lashon HaKodesh, keha means weak. So when you're learning Mishnah Mikvecha Targum, remember what it means. Okay? But when you go to buy a couch, don't use that word. Okay? Because that word means dark. It means dark. Okay? So it means the exact opposite. So they switched it. Similarly, when it comes to against Saras, I don't know, it had something to do with Saras, but in Vayikra Yud Gimel Mem Tes, the pasuk says, "V'haya hanega yirakrak o adam dam." So what's yarok? What color is yarok? Green. What's adom? Red. What's yarakrak and adam dam? They made there's a video. Everyone see this? There's a video of how to make a Jewish music video. It's supposedly funny. It's actually very funny, but it's so they took this pasuk, which has nothing to do with anything, to be the theme of their video. Yirak rak and a dam dam. Okay, so that's how these words became famous. So Yirak rak and a dam dam. What does that mean? Yirak rak and a dam dam. So Rashi says Yirak rak, yarok should be yarokin, very green. A dam dam, very red. Right? Meaning you have the word, and then if you add again another two of its letters, it intensifies it. It's adam, dam, very red. Okay? In the rules of modern Hebrew, it's the exact opposite. If you take two of the letters from the word, it doesn't mean that it's bigger or stronger, but it means it's smaller. For example, a little puppy in modern Hebrew is called klavlav. Klavlav. Okay? Klavlav, klav, kelev, klav, lav. So according to the rules of a yarok rok and a dam dam, it should have been a German shepherd, like this scary monster. But rather in the here, it's a little puppy, a klavlav, or I'm not going to say this right, my kids make fun of me. Tzahav hav. Tzahav hav means like a very, very light yellow. Tzahov is yellow, right? Tzahav hav should have been dark yellow. Yarok rok, dam dam, right? Should have been dark. No, it's the exact opposite. A very, very light yellow. You want to get drapes that have like a tinge of yellow, you want it to have. Okay, but if you really want a dark one, and you're used to yarok rok and a dam dam, you're going to go ask for a tzahav, and then they're going to give you this. Hey, buddy, I asked you for tzahav. This is a tzahav. No, I wanted the dark yellow. So it gets very, very confusing. So these are two of these forms. Another one, okay, number 6, and we'll move on. Again, there's a whole list of these. The word neshef. Okay, neshef in Lashon HaKodesh means a night. Anyone who went to Gemara and Brachos? Dav Gimel Beis talks about it's a night, a day. The word neshef means nighttime. In modern Hebrew, neshef means a ball. I don't mean a kadur. I mean a party, like you wear a ball gown, right? A ball, a party. That maybe I guess because it has that at night, so therefore it's used. So neshef is a ball. It's this type of a party. While in Lashon HaKodesh it means night. Okay, so for some reason they made these moves, and they keep on making these moves, and therefore modern Hebrew isn't exactly what the Lashon HaKodesh really was. Okay, sometimes this gets confusing, but it's important to realize that it is different. Now, where's like a major one? A major one, which was a big machlokes. We don't have it here. I don't need to put it here. But the word chashmal. What does the word chashmal mean? Electricity. Okay, that's used. Chashmal. Where does that word come from? So it comes from Sefer Yecheskel. When Yecheskel is speaking about the higher realms of Kabbalah, right, it talks about the chashmal. We have no clue what chashmal is. It's some extreme spiritual energy, something. So, and then they use the word chashmal. So, for example, when the Chazon Ish and Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, they have a whole bunch of letters about using electricity on Shabbos. Is it a daraisa? Is it a darabanan? How do we go ahead and look when someone plugs in a fan on Shabbos? What did they do wrong? Okay. So in the very beginning of their tshuva, it's fascinating to watch. The very, very beginning, they didn't use the word chashmal. They used the word electroni. Aleph Lamed Kuf Vav Tet Resh Nun Yod. They would not use the word chashmal. How could you use this Kabbalistic word that is talking about this, right? How could you use that for plugging in a fan and getting a circuit to connect to one another? It's crazy. And they were really like like, how can we use this word? This word is a kadosh word, and we're using it for this thing. So it stopped. Once it became like the word to use for everyone, so they stopped, meaning they backed out. Okay. And you see the later tshuvas, they actually start using the word chashmal. Okay, so it's interesting to see the historical development of it. But the certain words were, the nuances were not appreciated by whoever it was that went ahead and set up the dictionary. Now we have to realize, and that's why now we'll move on to this next stage, that who cares? Right? You're saying like big deal. So use chashmal for this, use chashmal for that. It's a word, right? I'm saying tahav, fine. It used to mean dark, now it means light. Big deal, right? Why does this matter? Why does this matter? And this is important for us who are engaged in learning and Torah, and we don't want to be desensitized to what we have. Okay, we don't appreciate. I myself don't feel like I was ever educated properly in Lashon HaKodesh. My kids ask me on Shabbos. My high school kids have a lot of tests right now. So one was studying for Dikduk and one was studying for history. So one loves history and one loves Dikduk. So they asked me, if you only could do one, what would your pick be? Okay, so I answered. This is my personal opinion. I answered Dikduk. So they were shocked. They said, it's so boring. I said, yeah, it is so boring. But if I knew Dikduk, I would be able to understand Chumash. I'd be able to understand things so much differently. The nuances are so huge and so special. And that would get me further in my life. That's what I felt, and my understanding, appreciation of Hashem and Judaism, fine. So we're like desensitized, because it's a little hard, it's a little complicated to it. So I'm not going to do anything hard over here. Okay, we'll try to do something a little bit fun. Okay, but I just to try to appreciate the depth of really what's going on in Lashon HaKodesh. Okay, now some of you might have heard from me already. We'll try to put it all together, and we're going to try to make this work. And there's another remote. So we're going to use the other remote, which works. Okay, and then we'll try to get rid of that somehow. Okay, there we go. Panim. What does the word panim mean? Face. Good. What does the word panim mean? Inside. Okay, so here we go. This is the basis of what we're going to talk about right now, and that is the letters of Lashon HaKodesh are not just random letters, right? Here we have a table. Why is this called a table? Anyone know? What? Because someone decided it's called a table. Exactly. There's nothing special about the letters T, A, B, L, and E that created this idea of a table. We could have called this a table and this a wall, and everyone would have been just fine, right? We might have gotten confused if we knew the other way beforehand, but as long as we grew up thinking that, we'd be totally fine. There's nothing special. However, in Lashon HaKodesh, it's not that way. We learn that the letters of Lashon HaKodesh are the DNA, they're the ingredients of the item. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu took every letter. We're going to see some fascinating, deep insights into letters that created the item. So it can't be then that you have the same ingredients, the same letters that mean two different things. It's impossible. They have to have a common denominator between the two. Got it? That's a difference in Lashon HaKodesh. So you say, I'll say it this way, I'll use that word, I'll use that letter, big deal, right? Yeah, it is a big deal. Because the letters make up the item. So what's the idea that the panim, our face, are also the same word as the word panim? So the answer is, okay, this is for another shir at a different time, but the kitzur, that when I look at your face, I am able to understand what's really going on inside you. Okay, and that's why when it comes to communication, the greatest way of communication, even though sometimes it's not comfortable and it's difficult, is not through texts, it's not through emails, it's not through even FaceTime. It's literally directly in front of a person. I see their face very clearly. You see my face. We get to understand each other. There's no misunderstandings. I'm able to see your panim. So the reason our face is called a panim is because it allows a glimpse of what's going on in the panim. And now we're going to spend some time going through the entire human face. Okay, here we go. Next, we have a word called an ozen. What's an ozen? An ear. We have another word called a moznayim. Anyone know what a moznayim is? No. A moznayim is a scale. Okay, it's a pasuk that's used in the Chumash. The Chumash uses this. It's a balance scale. Okay, now if we notice, the root of the word moznayim is ozen. So why? How? What does a balance scale have to do with the ear? It can't be that the aleph zayin nun, which is the root of the word ear, is the root of the word moznayim, which is a balance scale. That makes no sense. So the answer is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu knew, obviously, right? This is a pasuk in the Chumash. HaKadosh Baruch Hu knew something that scientists found out many centuries later, after the Torah was already put out, that, whoever here is a bio guy, knows that the vestibular system, the system in our body that allows us to remain balanced, is in the inner ear. When someone has vertigo, when a pilot has vertigo, when a person has vertigo, the problem is not that he's dizzy and he needs an Advil. The problem is there's something wrong with his inner ear. Inside our ear, in the inner ear, there's a balancing thing that keeps us standing straight. That I know that right now my head is up and my feet are down. When that gets messed up, we feel upside down, where our balance is out, we walk like this, etc. Right? One of the Rabbeim here, you need to know his name if you don't believe me, I'll tell you later, but one of the Rabbeim here had vertigo before Pesach, and he went to the doctor and couldn't help him, and the second time he went to the doctor just punched him in the head. And once he punched him in the ear, he was able to walk straight again. Okay? So that's true, by the way. Okay? So I mean, don't do that to your friend, but that's what happens, okay? If a person is, the inner ear is our balance of our whole life is in the ear. Now, there's a metaphysical Musar Vord in there as well, and that is that we could see things. When I see something and you see something, very rarely is there machlokas. Did you see it? Yeah, I saw it. You either did see it or you didn't see it. I don't say, well, I see that the sky is blue today, and you say, no, it looks like it's raining. Huh? No, we see the same thing. Hearing is very different. I could be in one conversation with you. I could walk out saying he said this, and you could walk out saying he said that. Our balancing of all information that comes through the human body is very much through the ears. We have to learn how to listen. We have to learn how to balance, take in, sift out what we have. Okay, that's not for now. Now focusing on Lashon HaKodesh. Okay, so fascinating, amazing. Kadosh Baruch Hu chose the word maznayim for balancing scale because it's the inner ear that actually keeps us balanced. Next, we have a peh. What's a peh? Mouth. Okay, keep your eyes on the lips. I don't know who did this, but it's cute. Okay, here we have a pei. We have the letter pei. So what's the letter pei? The letter pei represents the mouth. Now, there's a halacha in Shulchan Aruch, and Mishnah Berurah speaks about it, that the letter pei has to be written in a way that there's a bays there. Okay? Did everyone catch that? Let's do that again. Everyone keep your eyes on the lips. I think you were distracted by the pei. Okay? Okay. Now, anyway, so the pei has to have a bays in there. Meaning you have to write in a Sefer Torah, next time you get an aliyah, look it up, you'll see it. It's unbelievable. The pei has to go back a little bit over here to create the parchment to look like a bays. Why is that? Why is the peh, why is that about the bays? So it has been explained that again, the peh is our mouth. What does our mouth do? Our mouth outlines and delineates the bih, the inside of a person. The way a person speaks truly reveals who they are inside. And that's why this had to switch. That's why out of all the parts of our body, right, we have one skin color, and the opposite side of that skin is red. The only part of our body that's inside out are our lips. Hashem didn't have to make our lips like that. It could have made us like this, right? For some reason, our lips are inside out, right? The red part is flipped out. Why? Because it's reminding us that our inside comes out when it comes to our speech. Our speech is the best way. When you talk to someone long enough, you can fake someone out from today to tomorrow. But the more you speak to them, you start to realize what's really going on inside. What are they feeling? What are they thinking? What's going on through their minds? What are their hashkafos? What are their values, etc. Speaking is very healthy. It's important. You can tell from the tone, etc. So the lips, our mouth, reveal the bih, the inside. And that's why the pei is dafka set up that way. So yeah, I could just draw a pei like this. Like who cares? Everyone knows it's a pei. No, there's a special way that the pei, because there's messages in the letters that are going ahead and creating certain things. The word sfatayim, what are sfatayim? Lips. Okay, the word safa is language. And it also means a border. Okay, the safa is the border of the country. The safa is the border of a stender, the border of a table is a safa. Why, again, is the same word used for lips, language, and border? And the answer is like we just said, because the lips are the border. It's the final stopping point before those words from the inside go out. It's the border, right? It's the fence, it's the wall that goes ahead. And that's really what it is. And that's why it's our language, the way we speak, the language type of words that we use, the holy language, hopefully, that we use. And those are our lips. They all use the same word because they're all the exact same thing. Okay, let's move on. You have an af. What's an af? Nose. Af also means what? Oh, okay, it means anger. Okay, it doesn't really mean, okay. Anger. Okay? Why? What's with the nose and anger? So here we have our picture, right? What happens when a person gets angry? What does it mean that a person is angry? When a person is angry, their breathing changes, right? That's what happens with anger. The breathing inside changes, and you start to, right? Like the bull that's totally angry, you have the stuff coming out of his nose, okay? So that's the af is where the anger gets expressed, even if you don't yell, even if you don't express it outside, right? But the breathing of the person, even internally, when he has emotion of anger inside, is through the nose, and that's why it's set up that way, okay? Erech Apayim, slow to anger. Okay, we got that. Next. Ayin. Eye. What's that? Ayin. Okay, ready for this? Why is the ayin set up like this? Who said that? Okay, so here's a picture of the human brain. Okay, the human brain is set up that our vision, here we have our two eyes, right? And it's connected in the back like this. Here's an easier picture for you. Okay, this is how it's set up. Meaning what? The ayin is actually the shape of our eye internally in our brain. Okay, now, HaKadosh Baruch Hu knew that when he created the Torah. And that's how it's set up. And we have the two tops of the point, they come down to the bottom, they connect, and they go into the rest part of the brain. That's how it's set up over here. An unbelievable thing. Again, so who cares? I'll just make my ayin look like that. No, man, matters. The ayin, the eye, is specifically created, HaKadosh Baruch Hu created just like the pei, right? In a way that goes ahead and shows us what really is going on in the ayin. Okay. And it's important because this also teaches us that what we look at and what we see has a very strong implant and has a strong effect on what our brain is thinking, what our brain is looking at, what our brain is sitting in. That the core of our eyes are really back here in the brain. Okay, so we understand the letter, the structure of the letter ayin. Now, in our ayin, we have an ishon. Anyone know what an ishon is? Okay, the pupil, right? The black part of the eye is called the ishon. Why is the black part of the eye called the ishon? So now, the word ishon, you have to look at the letters, right? What do we see in the letters of the word ishon? We have the word ish with the letters vav and nun at the end. What does it mean when we put a vav and a nun at the end of a word? So for example, Yom Kippur is called Shabbaton. Why is Yom Kippur called Shabbaton? And sometimes we use the word Shabbaton like, oh yeah, we're going away to have some fun with some friends, right? So what Shabbaton really mean? So the reason is because, okay, that doesn't say anything. The reason is because anytime you have a vav and a nun at the end of the word, it means a miniature version of that word. Believe it or not, Shabbos is more stringent than Yom Kippur. If someone chas v'shalom violates Shabbos, it's worse than violating Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur, you just get kares. Shabbos, you get skila. So Yom Kippur is a miniature version of Yom Kippur. It's a Shabbaton because it's a small Shabbos. Okay, so why is the black part of an eye a small human being? Why is the pupil a small human being? Anyone? What? Of? Oh, everyone turn to the person sitting next to you. Go. Look in the black part of the eye. What do you see in the black part of your eye? What do you see? What do you see? What do you see, Chevra? You see yourself, right? You see a small version of yourself. So the reason it's called the Ishon is because you see a small version of yourself. Why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu do that? Why did Hashem make it such a weird thing, right? Why did he make it if I look into another person's eye, I see a small version of myself? He didn't have to do that. Why did he do that? So the answer is very clearly, because when we go ahead and we talk to each other, all Hashem wants is for us to be able to have achdus, for us to be able to speak to each other in appropriate ways. How could it be that sometimes I go over you and yell at you, and I'm nice to you, and I talk down to you? How could that be? The reason is because I think I'm chashuv. Who am I? I'm Mr. Who knows who, and you're a nothing. So in order to stop that terrible way of speaking, HaKadosh Baruch Hu made a reminder. When I'm looking you in the face, I'm like, hey, wait a minute. You're pretty big. You're created B'Tselem Elokim. You're created in the image of God. You're a big person. You're huge. Who am I? I also make mistakes. I also do things wrong. I'm small. It humbles me. It reminds me in my conversation that I'm a little nothing and you're a big person. And that's why HaKadosh Baruch Hu went ahead and made it Yishon. Now, there's a cute idea. You can use this on your secular friend that you want to mention something to them. This happens to be the truth in English as well. Okay, the word pupil is a student, but in the second entry in the Oxford Dictionary, it says it's from the Latin pupilla, originally a little doll. Diminutive of papa, a doll. The word a doll is a papa in Latin. That's where the word pupil comes from. Why? Because when you look into the pupil of the eye, you see a little person in there. You see a little doll. So it's not just in Lashon HaKodesh that it's called in Ishon, but it's also in English. But that's why we call it a pupil. Okay, what else do we have over here? Okay, let's go on to one. Okay, we have a few more minutes. We'll go on a little more. Okay, we have two letters over here. We have a gimel and a daled. Okay, I think we spoke about this in the tefillah shir. Whoever remembers, the Gemara says that the gimel and the daled represent gemilas chasadim. Right? Why does it represent gemilas chasadim? So the Gemara says because the structure of the letter gimel looks like a human being taking a step forward. He's giving. He's going towards someone. Who he's going towards to? He's going to the daled. Dal is something low. A poor person is called a dal. A dali is a pale because you go ahead and you draw from something very, very low down. So the gimel, the person who's gomel, who's giving, faces and runs towards the daled, who's embarrassed to take tzedakah. So therefore, he faces away from the gimel. Okay? What is the word chesed? We talk about chesed all the time. What does the word chesed mean? The word chesed, pity on the poor, is represented from two different letters. Chet samech, chas means pity, dal, on the poor person. That's what the word chesed really means. Okay? Now, the word gomel, gemul chesed, means pity, helping. Gemul also means reward, the schar that a person gets. The Ramban has a sefer called the Shar HaGemul. It's a book of all of how it works with the schar and olam haba, etc. And gimul means to stop nursing or to toilet train a kid in modern Hebrew. How could it be the same letters, the gimel, the pity, reward, stopping to nurse and toilet training a person? How in the world could that same word? It's the same letters, gimel, mem, lamed, gamal, a camel. Okay, we can talk about that at a different time, right? But how could it be? Those letters, those are the ingredients. Like you put flour and water into a bowl, it's going to come out the same thing, no matter how many times you try it. How could it be? They came out with totally different definitions. So the answer is that gemilut does not just mean pity. What it really means is allowing a person to be independent. When I want to go ahead and I want to give tzedakah, the Rambam says the highest level of tzedakah, he has 8 levels of tzedakah. What's the top level of giving tzedakah? What? Giving the guy a job. When you give someone a job, that's the highest level of tzedakah. That's not tzedakah. I got him a job. He's making the money himself. Exactly. The highest level of tzedakah is when I let the person feel like he earned it himself. That is what reward is all about. When you go ahead and you get rewarded for something, you feel, oh, I earned this. I did something. It's mine. It's my thing. I got it. Right? And that's what gimul, when you toilet train someone or you stop nursing, you're allowing the baby to be independent, to be on themselves. The camel, the gamal, is the only animal that, why they use camels in the desert? Because it could go the longest without any water. It is totally independent. By the way, it has nothing to do with the humps on the back. It has to do with the capillaries inside the camel, for all those people going into biology of animals. But that's irrelevant. But it happens, right? The camel is the most independent animal because it could go the longest without any water. Okay, so that's gamal. Gamal is to create independence. That's the gimel and the structure of the dalet. So again, like the pei and the ayin, you can't just who cares what the structure of the letter is? There's a lot of chachma. Kadosh Baruch Hu put a lot of wisdom into the different letters. Okay, let's do one more, maybe two more. Okay, we have the word halva'ah. Halva'ah is a loan. You go to the bank, you say, I'd like a halva'ah. Even in modern Hebrew, it's a loan. Lovez, a borrower. Lahavod is to lend. Okay, that's pretty easy. Then we have a levaya. Levaya is a funeral. And livui is to accompany. Okay, the company guitarist, whatever it is, the livuy, milav and malka, right? We accompany out. So what's the deal? You have a funeral, a loan in the bank, and a company is guitarist and milav and malka. Like, how in the world does all those words come together? So the answer is that the word livuy, and this is for another shmooze, what the word Levi is. Who's a Levi? Okay, what's the idea of the name Levi? The Levi would be the company person in the Beis HaMikdash with all the karbanos. There's a lot there. But what does the word really mean? The word means to connect to. When you go ahead and you want to give a loan to a person, you're not supposed to go ahead and give a loan as follows. This is a pasuk that teaches us about giving a loan. Im kesef talva es ami lo tesimun alav neshach. The Torah tells us if you lend money to someone, don't charge interest, right? The Torah uses the word im, but Rashi tells us it means if. If means it's optional. But the Torah tells us it's not optional. Here, this is one of the 3 times in the Torah that the word im means when. When you give the loan. You're obligated to loan money. It's a mitzvah to lend money. Not if, when. So that's pretty weird, right? If the word means if, what is the Torah pulling a trick on me? Like here, it means if. Normally, but look at Rashi. We wanted to encourage the publication of Rashi. So we want to make sure that there are 3 times that the Torah goes ahead and means when. Give me a break. That's ridiculous, right? The Torah's playing games with us. So if the word always means if, why over here does the Torah use it if that's not what it meant? It meant when. Why did it do that? So the Maral explains as follows. Because the way a person gives money, you're obligated to give money. But when I give money, it's not supposed to be, oh, Hashem says I have to give money. I worked really hard for this money. This is mine. I want this. This guy, he should have figured it out himself. Like, why in the world do I have to go ahead and lend the money? It's not right. But Hashem said I have to give it. Okay, Hashem gave it. I'm a religious Jew. Close my nose, close my eyes. Here. Done. Right? That's not what Kodesh Baruch Hu wants. Hashem wants us to give the money as if it's optional. As if it's totally optional for me to give. I care about this guy. I feel bad for him. I love him. I have money he doesn't. Here, please take the loan. I just wanted to help you out. Meaning, I get into the feelings of the other person and I connect to his tsar. I connect to his difficulties, his pains, and I want to be able to go ahead and fill it. Livuy halva'a is not lend money. It's connecting to a person, and therefore, memela, even if the Torah didn't exist, I would want to go ahead and lend you the money as if it's optional. Now, if I'm having a hard time with it, yes, the Torah tells me you got to do it anyway. But my goal is that it's a natural connection. What does a person do at a funeral? What's the whole idea of a funeral? Why are we going? Paying last respects. Why? I'm trying to connect to that person. We escort him out. What's escorting him out? I don't want you to go. I'm connected to you. You just had a great Shabbos lunch. I don't want you to leave. I'm going to continue walking out with you. We're together, right? It's all about connecting to the other person. That's what the word means, and therefore it has these different expressions of the word, but the core of the word is that specifically that we go ahead and we connect. Okay. Here we have a king. And here we have a cloud. Okay. The word Nesiim means 2 things. It means a cloud and it means a king. We say in davening, we all say this, in davening of Shabbos morning, Ma'aleh Nesiim Mikatzei Haaretz, that the clouds come from the ends of the earth. What the same word means a cloud and it means a king. Doesn't make any sense, right? The Nasi of the state of Israel, right? The leaders of the tribes, of the Shvatim, the Nesiim. What's Pshat? The cloud and the... So Hirsch explains that if you understand how a cloud works, the cloud works as follows. The water comes from the bottom, right? It's called evaporation, okay? And it goes up, and the clouds have it. They get built up. The clouds don't keep the richness to itself, but it goes ahead and gives down back to the people. And that's what a Jewish king is all about. Not like the other nations that they hide in Qatar or whatever it is, and they let their other people fight and do their things. Our leaders go down to the front. They go down to the front lines. They go down to give Musar. The Melech, the Jewish king, goes with a Torah scroll. He has a chiyuv to walk around the Torah scroll to inspire people to go ahead and give. He gets built up. We give him kavod. We give him money. We give him a palace. We give him all the respect. But what's he do with that? He gives it back to the people. He comes down back. So the king of the Jewish people is exactly like a cloud. And therefore, the exact same word it's used in Lashon HaKodesh for both. What do we have here? Okay, let's move on, and then we're going to close with this. What's the word sham mean? There. What's the word shame mean? I'm not sure where we're going with this. Okay. What's a shin? Oh, shh. Okay, so why do we care about that? Oh, the answer is as follows. The word sham and shin, they're a name. What's the common denominator? It's the exact same letters. How could that be? The answer is as follows. The shin and the mem are built up as follows. This word means to identify a specific thing. So for example, I'm totally lost. I have no idea where to go. So where do I go? Sham. Okay, I'm all mevubal. I'm all confused. Where do I go? Sham. I go over there. I point to a specific spot that gives me clarity. Okay? Shame. What's the idea of a name? You know, a lot of people in this room. If none of us had names, I'll try to talk to someone, no one knows who I'm talking to. When I call out a name out of a lot of people, I identify a very, very specific spot, person, within a lot of other confusion. We talk about white noise, right? Static of a radio. What do you hear? Right? The letter shin represents noise. You have those machines that you put in that kids could sleep. You put it in, it makes a lot of right? It represents noise, static. The letter mem, that's what we do when we meditate, right? It's a certain souling, feeling, a sound that allows me to focus. The letter shin and the letter mem is a movement from static, from noise, all the way to be able to identify, zero in, and focus on something different. And that's why those two letters make up the word sham and shame, because it allows for something that's a lot of confusion to go ahead and specify. Okay, so 10:30 on the dot. We're done. Again, we could go on for hours on this. I just wanted to give everyone a little bit of a piece of understanding of the history of modern Hebrew, the change of modern Hebrew into Lashon HaKodesh, and to appreciate that our incredible letters and our incredible words have so much depth that HaKadosh Baruch Hu put into all of our words. That's why it's Lashon HaKodesh. It's the Lashon HaKadosh Baruch Hu uses how it's infinite, right? And we should all be zocheh to try to really understand it and appreciate all what we have. And we should use it. We should learn Hebrew, guys. To learn Hebrew. We could do it. We could go ahead and we could become experts in this absolutely incredible language. Okay, and we should have an amazing day.